Good afternoon, fifth grade. Today we are going to work on making a fun little activity about drawing and labeling out the different stages of the Steelhead life cycle. So what you need in your binder is you have this packet. It says art activities, life cycle matchbooks, Steelhead grid drawing. And there's our Steelhead. So if you go through this packet, you have two pieces of paper that you're going to need. You're going to need this paper that's labeled 1 through 6, and it has the different stages of the steelhead. And then the page after it has these boxes with lines. You need those two papers. The other papers you can keep in your binder. Do not lose them. All right, so take these two pages, put this back in your binder right now. Now, you have these two pages, and in the back of your binder, you also have an orange piece of construction paper. You need this orange piece of construction paper because that's where we're going to lay out our 6 stages of steelhead. All right. Now, the first thing we're going to write on our orange paper is we're going to put a title. So at the very top, so corner to corner in the center, nice and large, we're going to write life cycle. Life cycle of the steelhead, and we always want to put our name on our paper. So in the bottom corner, I'm just going to put my name. It's always good to have date of your work, right? Okay, now what we're going to do first is we are going to go through the slideshow. Now, Ms. Hanson's lesson went through the slideshow, or if your teacher went through the slideshow with you live, however they choose to teach it. And what we're going to do is we are going to describe and label what occurs at each stage of the steelhead life cycle, and we're going to write it out on the squares. So you can put this page aside for now. And you can put the page aside with the blank boxes because we're going to be drawing pictures for each stage. But right now we're going to do the writing piece, okay? So take out this page, and we're going to label it, okay? And we're going to draw it out. We're going to use the slideshow, and we're also going to use information from our packet because our reading had tons of information. All right, so real quick, I'm just going to label these 1 through 6 so I know which one is which, right? 1 is the eggs, 2 is the alvin, 3 is the fry, 4 is the smolt, 5 is the adult, and 6 is the spawners. Ignore the line. We're not going to really keep it in that line because we're going to cut out the actual squares. Or I'm sorry, these aren't squares. These are rectangles. We're going to cut out the actual rectangles and map those out on our orange piece of paper. All right. I just want them numbered so you know that which one goes with which when we cut them out. All right. So let's start with our eggs. So the eggs, it develops in the gravel. This is a short slideshow. Develops in gravel and hatches into the alvin. Now, our reading has a lot more information. So let me grab my reading real quick. Now, in our reading, here is the life cycle. And so I'm going to use some of this information to add details to the parts of this life cycle. Just so you know where I'm getting all the information we're writing. It's from the slideshow lesson and from the readings. All right. So let's start with the eggs. All right, I'm actually going to zoom in just a little bit down here for you. All right, so the female digs a red in the gravel. A female can lay 12,000 eggs. Eggs develop in the gravel as they eye up, fish eggs grow. All right, so that's our first stage. I got some of this from the readings from last week and this week. We learned about how many eggs they lay, and it's important to know using vocabulary that eggs aren't just laid on the ground, right? The female uses her fin and digs a red to keep them hidden. All right, if you need a pause as we're doing this, just pause it to keep going. I'm going to move on to the alvin. All right, they stay in the gravel, they get their food from their yolk sacs, and they grow bigger. So Eggs hatch into alvin. Alvin stay in the gravel and get their nutrients from their yolk sacs. So the yolk sacs, when they hatch out, these are the yolk sacs, and then as they grow bigger and bigger, the yolk sacs begin to disappear, and they live off that as their food. Um, and then the alvin dig themselves in the gravel to stay hidden and safe. So they'll eventually push their way into the rocks. When we're in the classroom, or when you're making your observations from the video, make sure you're looking at where we'll see you'll be able to see where they're hidden. Sometimes you just see the tips of their tails because they're hiding inside. But since we keep a lot of them towards the glass, sometimes they'll all like hide in the corners of the tank, because it's darker and it's more cramped, and they can dig their ways into the corners. All right, next we have the fry or fingerlings. And when the yolk sac is gone, the tiny fry swim out of the gravel and begin to eat insects. The fry swim up at night to avoid predators, and they also are called fingerlings because they're the size of a finger. And look how tiny they are. They're so cute. They're so little. So little, so little. So yes, the yolk sac is gone, and they're tiny, itty bitty little fish. Next, we have smolts. The salmon or steelhead migrate downstream towards the sea. Smolts spend their time in the estuary, feeding, eating and growing, and they have changes to help prepare them for the ocean. Right, their gills begin to change to balance the salt water, and their scales change to camouflage from large predators. Next, we have our adult steelhead, and they spend several years in the ocean. So, an adult spends most of its life in the ocean. It grows at a rapid rate due to the abundant food sources. I just put due to food sources. You could put the adjective abundant in there. And the fish migrate for many miles searching for food, right? Because they're out in the ocean, they have a lot of places to range to grow. All right, next we have our spawners. So the salmon return to their home rivers to spawn. They swim hard and jump high to get back to where they will lay their eggs or where they were born. And after spawning, Chinook and coho salmon die. Well, we're talking about the steelhead. So the steelhead return to their birth creek when they're ready to spawn. Males develop beak-like hooks as well as a red color. Steelhead may return back to the sea. And then we could add that the female can spawn up to 4 times. All right. So next, what we're going to do is we are going to cut these out. And the way I'm going to cut them out is I'm not going to cut them exactly on the black line. Obviously, I kind of wrote out some of the boxes. But I'm going to kind of leave a little bit of that white around, and I'm going to cut them all out. So I'll show you after what they look like when we cut them off the paper. So after you cut them all out, the reason we number them is so we know the order that they go in. Let me adjust my camera just a bit. Here we go. So here's our paper. And so we're going to number them, or they are numbered, pardon me. And we're going to put them in order. You do 3 on top, 3 on the bottom. So lay them out nicely, and then they're going to get glued like so. Okay? So you're going to glue them down, and then we'll work on the pictures and drawing and coloring. All right, so now they're all glued down. You want to make sure you have no loose edges, because if you have loose edges, then you're going to have things pop up. So make sure everything's glued down nicely. And then you're going to take your pictures, right? So put this aside. You can let it dry, but just, that's kind of layout, right? 1 through 6. Now we have where we're going to put our pictures. Now, when we do our pictures, the goal is to make a nice detailed picture into each square, no white. All right. You're in 5th grade. You can draw a detailed picture, color. I find it works best to do it in pencil or trace it in like black pen, or if you have like a black fine tip marker, to draw your picture and then color it in color pencil. And you can do some really cool colors. I mean, the fish have really great colors and shading, so you could do a lot of cool details. I'm a marker and color pencil type person, so I like to do both. And what I suggest is 2 things. One, We'll add the slideshow PDFs for you to go through so you can have the pictures and having the pictures, or you could do Google search of like eggs in red, fry. I mean, there's tons of great pictures here of the fry. Um, and then each stage, the fingerlings, like these tiny little guys. So you could show like, the rock is huge and the fingerling is super tiny. Then you have your smolts, so they're much bigger and they have different coloring. Um, Paying attention to our adult steelhead, right? They start to get different colors. They're swimming around. And then your spawners. Oops. All right, so this will be attached. Finished product, what you're going to do, I'll show you a finished example. It's not in the same layout as the other one, but I will show you how this kind of comes together. So, eggs, right? I drew my red and I drew my eggs, kind of drew them all in, colored them in, drew colored background, really just coloring the background in like watery blue, green colors of like a creek, the sand and the dirt and the rocks. Now what you do is you cut out the rectangle of your picture. I would say do all the pictures first, then cut them out. And what you're going to do is you're only going to put glue on this top part back here where it says, like one egg, or technically where it says here on your paper, glue here. You really are only going to put glue on this top part right up here. And then you're just going to rub in the top piece. And what it creates is like this little matchbook flip where you can read the writing and then you have the picture to show for it. Okay. So use the pictures to help you out. This is my eggs. These are my alvins. So I have some of them dug into the rock. So I kind of drew the little pictures first, and then I did the backgrounds afterwards, and colored them in, did some shading. Have fun with it. As you can tell, I did. Right, the alvin had their yolk sacs, so I want to make that very apparent. Almost look like little tadpoles. The fries, right, are little tiny. Our fingerlings are really tiny. The rocks are much bigger than them, right? And they're swimming kind of like out of the rocks, where these are in the rocks, so until we're a little bit higher up. Our smolts, right? They start to swim through the creeks. This is my version of doing like little currents. But I really use the pictures and the images to help me draw it out. I think I did this one in pencil, or looked like I did like a little gray marker that I drew this with. Color it in, shade them, have fun with it. Your adult, this is actually kind of backwards, but kind of swimmy. Our adult steelhead, and then our spawners. And I wanted to do both, so I kind of did a male, right, with a little more hooked mouth, and a female. And I think I got these pictures from the page in the reading. So if you look at the reading, I kind of like did some of these pictures, pretty much what I was trying to recreate of them going. So using these pictures and then using the images to get the colors. Like there's our red, our fingerlings hiding in the rocks, your smolts. Okay, so that's what you want to do. I'll show you a finished product once I finish doing some other pictures. But you're going to cut these out after you do all of your pictures, and then you're going to put glue on the top here, and just on the top, and stick your cover on top. So eggs, picture, and then the writing. So one more time, after you finish all of your pictures, again, use the PDF slides to get the images, or you can just do an image search and do steelhead eggs in red, or steelhead alvin, steelhead fingerlings or fry, steelhead smolt. And there's lots of images available. I like to use those to get some like colors and kind of get some better ideas, or just use the images in your reading or the slideshow. So again, you're just going to put glue on that top part right up here where it says glue here. Put your smidge of glue, And then you cut out your finished picture. Imagine mine has a finished picture. And you're just going to stick it right on top, rub it in a little bit above because you don't want to block off any of the writing. And then when it folds over, you still get to see all of your reading. All right. And you can do that for all of them. So if you don't have a glue stick, liquid glue works well too. Just put a very, very small drops. And then after you glue it, it's good before it starts to dry to make sure you can make your crease on your line so then you can flip it and still be able to read it and make sure that none of the writing is blocked off. And if you are stuck, if you have a white background, I say first draw your fish and draw your eggs or your fry, whatever images for each square. Draw it, put your details and color it, and then do different colors of like blues and shades of light green to get your creek watering. Okay? And then this is your finished product. You're going to take a photo of it and submit it to your teacher and then turn it in when all of your work is due. Thank you, 5th grade, and I hope you had fun doing your life cycle to Steelhead.